What's up guys? Welcome back to Weeb Recaps. Today we'll be talking about the second season of the supernatural and action comedy anime, titled Mob Psycho 100. So relax, because today I'll be taking us through the history of one of the strongest anime characters ever seen. Sit back, grab a drink, and enjoy the video. In this fantasy world, there are strange phenomena that even science can't comprehend. This phenomenon calls for people who could concede to their existence and dedicate themselves to fighting against it. These people are called psychics. Born with a rare gift, Mob is no different from these people. He is an 8th grader with psychic abilities working as a part-timer for his mentor, Reigen Arataka, who works as an exorcist for hire. Reigen takes Mob to a place in the city where the scary stories of urban legends exist. Setting up a small spot for his freelance work, he's approached by Shinra Banjamaru, a psychic like them also who claimed to have already set up a shop and needed them out of the area. While arguing, a lady offers them a job to get rid of all the urban legend stories as they are inciting numerous surreal feelings in the town. Reigen convinces Shinra to join him and calls out his ghost friend Dimple to watch over Shinra while he and Mob look somewhere else for any signs of the uncanny stories. Shinra manages to apprehend a perverted man impersonating a spirit, but the man quickly knocks him out with a taser. Unfortunately for the man, an urban legend spirit known as the Dragger emerged from the darkness and dragged him into a lake. Dimple enters the body of the unconscious Shinra and tries to restrain the spirit, but the attacks of the spirit are too precise and fast. Coupled with Shinra's plus-sized weight, he ends up calling Reigen and Mob, requesting for backup. As soon as our powerful protagonist shows up, he doesn't even break a sweat before immediately vaporizing the Dragger with his abilities. After the duel, Shinra thanks the duo for helping out the town with the Dragger and also helping him catch the spirit impersonator. Later, Reigen's website begins to pay off as he flaunts over exorcising the famous urban legend, the Dragger. He gets popular and gets multiple jobs in one day, one of which a group of high school students wants to mess around and make memories by taking pictures in a haunted place. Reigen doesn't decline his clients, so he follows them to their haunted house and takes a picture for them. Later, they refuse to pay him nor give him a ride back due to the fact that no spirit showed up. Surprisingly, the students are back the next day. This time, contrary to how they last showed up, they're terrified instead. They brought the photo Reigen took and begged him to exorcise the apparition of a little boy beside them. Reigen refused to help them as they didn't pay him before, but now they even choose the highest of his exorcism offers supposedly to show how petrified they were. Reigen accompanies them back, and with help, he orders Mob to exorcise the spirit. While trying to do so, the spirit spoke to Mob, pleading with Mob to spare him and his ghostly family. Mob becomes extremely opposed to exorcising them, that it's making him tremble. Reigen tells Mob he didn't have to do it anymore if he didn't want to. He even throws salt to his customers who constantly besieged him to evacuate the spirits from behind, telling them to get lost. After understanding both human and the inhuman are a part of Mob's everyday life, he pats Mob and takes him to get soda. Few days later, Reigen is offered a job in a huge mansion. In there, many other self-proclaimed psychics are waiting indoors, including Shinra. The owner of the mansion comes in and begs all of them to save his daughter from the spirit inhabiting her body. Dimple recognizes the voice of the spirit and narrates the story of a powerful psychic, Mogami Kenji, who died vengefully and became an evil spirit. After witnessing the incredible power of Mogami, and being unable to exorcise him, Mob decides to leave his body in an astral projection and enter the body of the girl to exorcise Mogami from within. He entrusts Dimple to look after his body while he's gone. Mogami quickly senses their plan and rushes to attack them, rendering Reigen paralyzed. He fights with Dimple, the new user of Mob's body. Mob uses that opportunity to enter the body of the little girl and tries to send Mogami out of her. Inside the body of the girl, Mogami sees right through Mob's attack, quickly incapacitating him before explaining how and why he got so powerful. He explained how psychic powers are built on human emotions, either good or bad. The powers will grow, letting Mob know he let him inside the girl so he could show Mob an alternative version of his life if Mob couldn't use E.S.P. his psychic abilities. The people were accurate representations of people from the real world, making Mob experience a parallel world that could have easily come to pass had it been his circumstances were different. In this alternative reality where Mob had no power, the girl he tried to save attended his class and made his life a living hell. Everyone hated Mob because he was an academic failure. Even his brother, Ritza, looked down on him. For 6 months, he lived in a cruel alternate world where he was picked on by everyone. In the last moment, when Mob snapped and was about to waste a student's life, Dimple appeared and reminded him who he was. Mob remembers his past life and becomes grateful for everyone who contributed to his change as a person, and if he could, anyone can. Mogami is disappointed that Mob doesn't acknowledge the true reality of his world. He starts sending the myriads of undead souls he has acquired to fight Mob. Mob eradicates them easily, but after the intense clash between powers, Mob destroys Mogami's spiritual vessel, thereby setting the thousands of souls free. Dimple quickly makes his way out, but Mob stays behind to vaporize all the souls. After another huge explosion caused by Mob exorcising the spirits, his body vaporizes and we're left to see the unfathomable pure energy living inside our protagonist. A few seconds later, Mob wakes up, and the girl he saved apologized and begged him so much to forgive her character as she would become a changed person. Nevertheless, Mob doesn't mind this, as long as he continues to make a difference by changing people. He continues working for his mentor and exorcising spirits until one day Mob is out with his two friends who are currently celebrating their birthdays. Reigen calls him over the phone and sends him on an exorcism job offer because he would be coming in late. Mob does as his master tells him, but after the job, he openly voiced his opinion of his annoyance over Reigen constantly summoning him whenever. Reigen doesn't consider Mob's feelings, so he begins to act selfishly, explaining how Mob was being used by teenage friends and telling Mob to grow up because he was better off with him casting away spirits than with his fake friends. Talk about change. The next day Mob decides to ditch work. Reigen starts having a hard time with his customers as Mob was originally the exorcist, not Reigen. On his way out, he runs into Mob with a few friends, which shocked him. Dimple even briefed him on Mob's current happy state without him. After ending up alone and getting over it, Reigen decided to become somebody by broadening his field of work. He took up different jobs and even exorcised an evil spirit in a game, leading to the rise in popularity of his business as a profound psychic. Sooner than he thought, he got an offer to appear in a television show, which would be broadcasted across the nation. Reigen saw the opportunity and was delighted to show up. Another psychic, Jodo Kirin, was also called to the show. Unbeknownst to Reigen, the entire TV show was a sham set up by Jodo to get back at Reigen for ridiculing him back in the mansion. As the show went on, Reigen made a fool of himself by trying to cast out a spirit in a boy who wasn't even possessed on national television. He becomes a laughingstock of the entire country. Day after day he's mocked on social media and even stalked by the media until he gives into a press conference. During the conference, Reigen is bombarded with countless questions concerning the genuineness of his work. That was the moment he realized from the very first day our 8-year-old Mob walked into his life. He tried to become different but instead used Mob for his own selfish benefit. Feeling terrible, he apologized to Mob. Suddenly an earthquake began and every camera levitated. The press was taken aback, but knowing what was happening, Reigen took the opportunity to reclaim himself as a psychic again. After the conference, Mob encourages Reigen despite being harsh towards him earlier. One evening on his way home, Mob notices smoke from afar. Getting closer, he is traumatized upon realizing his house was on fire and his parents and brother were completely consumed by the flames. His power output climbs from a 100% to a number unknown. Immediately he scans the city and finds a couple of people who are on their way to blow up his house. He angrily beats them up like little kids, but after finding out they knew nothing about the attack, his friends pick him up and leave the area. After Mob found out from Reigen that the bodies in his house were dummies made to deceive the actual arsonists, he fell unconscious, having used a great amount of his power. Meanwhile, a group of rogue superpowered individuals called Claws plan to take over the entire world, with their all-powerful leader, Suzuki Toichiro. First, Suzuki broadcast his yet preposterous agenda of world domination on every television and later sends an upper echelon of his organization, Shimazaki, to kidnap the Prime Minister. Luckily, Terusan, a friend of Mob, is present to extricate the minister. On the other part of the city, Suzuki's son, Sho, rebels against his father with Ritsu, Mob's brother. While everyone is out realizing the plan, some members of the Claw infiltrate Reigen, who looks over Mob's sleeping body. Fortunately, Dimple takes over Mob's body and jumps out from the building, but a member of the Ultimate Five follows suit. He traced Mob's body to an ally after punching Dimple out of Mob, but Dimple enters another body of Mob's friends and knocks him out. Mob wakes up and Dimple briefs him on the happenings lately. As for Ritsu and Sho, they split up. Ritsu takes on Shimazaki and Sho goes ahead to stop his father. However, Ritsu is clearly outmatched by Shimazaki. Shimazaki tossed Ritsu around like a ping-pong ball until he corners him and plans to knock him out, but the rest of Mob's friends who were a part of Claw shows up and battles Shimazaki. Meanwhile, Mob confronts another member of Ultimate Five who controls the plant. Combined with the attack of some other lower members of the organization, they manage to pose a threat to Mob, but Mob is helped by Matsuo. Mogami turns into a fiery colossal entity and is prepared to devour the Ultimate Five member's soul, as he still holds his belief as a misanthropist. Mob still believes in humans, and after conversing with Mob, the only person who defeated him, Mogami doesn't fight back. Instead, he tells Mob to actualize his utmost potential before fading away. Meanwhile, Shimazaki makes a fool out of everyone who tried to take him down. One by one he brought them to their feet even after their combined attacks. His power was quite simple: teleportation and ability to read his opponent's precise moves. With this, he was merely invincible to them. Not until Mob finally surfaced to him. Sensing Mob's tremendous energy coupled with Reigen, who showed up at his face and landed unlimited blows to him, he was immediately knocked off his feet. After coming face to face with Mob, he is traumatized by Mob's magnificent energy, so he disappears, not wanting to fight any longer. After Shimazaki leaves everyone partially defeated, Mob decides to go alone to face Suzuki head-on. Due to everyone's current state, going with him would only hinder his progress. Mob gets to the top of the building and finds Sho beaten up badly by his father Suzuki. While they converse, Suzuki reveals he had traveled around the world searching for anyone stronger than him, but there was none. He grew to a point where he believed he could take over the world all by himself without having any help. This was a plan he formulated over the past 20 years. When he saw Mob share a part of his energy with Sho, Suzuki understood Mob had his abilities, the ability to share their energy with other people, as well as being able to absorb their energy. He immediately rushes at Mob after considering Mob a mortal enemy, beating him up before blasting him out of the tower. Mob's powers are already set at 100%, but Suzuki's power outside resides at 10%. The battle becomes very intense as both overpowered characters showcase their godlike abilities, flying around and heating themselves with a great amount of energy beam that caused the onlookers to stare awry. Witnessing the powers of Mob, Suzuki increases his power to 50%. Nevertheless, Mob cries as he would finally have to resort to destroying Suzuki since he refused to change. Breaking every bone in Suzuki's body, Suzuki finally releases his output to 100%, transforming him into a Ghost Rider-like demon. He dashes at Mob and every contact they made created a huge shockwave across the skies. He becomes so powerful that all the energy stored up inside him finds its way outside, and he becomes a living nuclear bomb waiting to go off. After warning everyone to clear the area because Suzuki was about to go off, Mob goes back to help Suzuki contain his power inside the barrier he made. Mob promising he would never leave Suzuki even at times like this really hits a spot in our tyrant's heart of steel. Before detonating, Suzuki's life flashes before him and he sees his beloved wife for the last time in his memory. Then after, boom, the explosion was so great it created an incredible beam of light and surpassed the morning skies. The aftermath of the blast created a sky-towering mushroom the next morning. Everyone around the country wondered what it was. As for Suzuki, he is taken into confinement by the government, but within him, Mob is able to make him realize that we all need someone. As for everyone, they are starting their lives over again to become better people. Mob and Reigen continue their psychic business. Later, Mob remembers he forgot a pack of broccoli seeds in his pocket. Reigen's demeanor plummets as he realizes the towering mushroom wasn't a mushroom at all, but broccoli.